Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Invader video. So today we'll be looking at how we can invade a shape that we see on the board. So this is a quite common shape. We have, basically a 3-4 with a jump extension and another extension. So how can we make use of the weakness that white has here and make some sort of invasion inside here? This is quite a difficult question because, as we can see, white's formation has already been very defensive and very hard to actually even live inside. But there's still some work that we can do to either invade or live inside if our opponent's not careful. But if he's very careful and defends very well, then we will just make a reduction. So let's look at two techniques that we can invade locally. The first one is for us to peep at R4. Against this move, the most intuitive answer is for white to connect because there's obvious a weakness. Black will follow up with R3. And here, if white turns, black can make the hane and then place the tiger's mouth. Now black can make a ko, and this is a really heavy ko. Let's say if white loses this ko, black is gonna get himself a decent sized corner while destroying all the territory that white has. So and when we play this one, if white just says, hey, you can't live in the corner, there's still a lot of problems outside. So there is this small knight that gets black out. So if white wants to further try to kill this, if he plays this one, we have this attach, and there's a lot of aji in here. White cannot get a clean kill. If white tries to defend here, notice black cannot extend into the corner because white now has a hane. When you try to cut, white will capture everything. But don't worry, black can just extend out. This is no problem. White obviously has this hane, but instead of just suiciding at R5, we can just push at R7. If black blocks this coming out, we can just Atari. When white connect, we can capture the stone back and we have a huge corner. And what else can white do? If white connects, we can obviously just play R5 and our corner is going to be alive. And if when we push, white decides to say, hey, I want a corner, we say no problem. We completely cut white stone off and we will build very good stuff on top. So this would be a very successful invasion for black. So it's actually quite uncommon to see white just connecting at Q4 in actual pro games. For most professionals, they like territory. They like to be practical and then get the points first. So their defense is usually at R3. This is a more annoying move for black because black has no way to live locally. When you try to play this one, this is very hard to live. If you play this one, black will just respond to everything you have, and this is already quite hard. Black might have to use this kind of things to struggle something out, but this is very difficult for black. Likely black's gonna all die inside. So when our opponent blocks at R3, which he should, we should be very patient and then we should try to play a move outside to wait for the opportunities here. With this helping move, not only our top side is strengthened, but if white does not play locally, we will have things like R6. Now, because we have a supporting stone, we can easily we can easily get out like this. So if white does not want anything like that, well, there's going to be a lot of agi here. So black will honey push. There are many things that black can do to basically make himself alive. So here I think black can extend at S6, and then as we can see, there's so many cutting points for white outside. There's this clamp. So overall, this is very hard for white to defend. The exact variation. So if white plays this one, we will make the ko. If white blocks, there's going to be a cutting point here. So as we can see, there's a lot of weakness that black can exploit, and white is likely going to be cut into pieces. So with a supporting stone at R10, as we can see, there's so many cutting points that probably white's best response is to make sure that he is all connected and everything. So this would be a very normal variation. Moving on, so black was successfully invading white. So sometimes invasion does not happen immediately. We need to make a preparation move. And this preparation move is very hard to defend. If white ever spends a move to defend against the preparation move, this exchange in itself is very profitable for black. Black can later on just play things like this, or even just play the Kosumi. Those are all great because R10 is already providing value for the top side. So now we can sacrifice our R4 stone, and we can be very happy about it because originally white has 3 stones protecting the corner. So we can't really have unreal or unrealistic expectations for what we can get. So that's pretty much the variation for when black plays R4. Another very interesting invasion you can make is to play R3. This looks super weird because just because it's it looks like you're getting hit in the face with this tiger's mouth, but that's actually okay. So black's follow-up is to clamp at P3. So here, if white extends, black will extend up. This is threatening at Q4, so white needs to connect so that he doesn't have weakness. And now we can successfully make an extension towards the left side. So by sacrificing our R3 stone, we're able to settle our group in a very, very fast way. And we can be happy about it because once again, white used to have 3 stones, and it would be unrealistic to think that we can just grab the corner and then white's going to have nothing. So white's going to keep the corner and we get to quickly develop the site. So that's a very good way for you to make a sort of invasion by sacrificing your invading stone, but by developing somewhere else. So that's a very interesting idea in our Invader series. In the previous series, I always talk about how we can make ourselves alive, how we can take the opponent's territory away. But a lot of times, it's also important to be reasonable because your opponent has the stones advantage. Your opponent has very solid defense, and all we can looking at is looking at some profits from the outside. Is by looking at some use that we can make out of those shapes. So that's a very important idea in invasion. Here, I just want to end, I want to say that there's also a very, very good defense. Apart from playing S4, white has an awesome defense that is to play not here, but p2. So this is a very, very good defense as well. And white would only use this defense when he values the outside a lot more than the corner. Against this Kosumi, black has to be very careful. If black plays things like this, immediately there's going to be problems. So if you play this one, I can Kosumi, and black it's very difficult for black over here to actually make a life. So actually, yeah, because of this tiger's mouth and the honey, it's a very difficult thing. Yeah, so if you play this one and then black plays this one, I think this is already dangerous for black. Let's say, for example, I think white can just play r7, and then how does black even make himself alive? There's no way to actually make a clean alive here, because, well, there's this honey, and that's just very difficult, right? Like, you cannot even make a life. So black has to be very, very careful to not extend at r4. It looks like the most intuitive move, but it's actually not a good move. So the correct move for you to actually make a life is to play r2. So to play q2. And then if white takes the stone, which is the most intuitive, black will Atari. White can just capture, and then black will extend out. So this is not a great variation for white necessarily, because after this, black is able to ladder the stone, and then that's a very successful invasion for black. So this variation doesn't really work for white. Just making sure you don't Atari here, because that's seems like a good move, but it's actually a mistake, and it actually can cost you the game right here, because white has a double Atari. You take thinking it's a ko, but it's really not a ko, because white can double Atari from the outside, and then black is gonna get laddered. So the correct move is for you to extend out, and then black is good to go. So white won't be happy with that one. So if white connects, well, that's also not like the best, because black can Atari first, black will connect, and then black can get out like this. So this is very different, because white does not have the S1 stone in place right now. It is very hard to kill, because you play this one, black can live already. So what is the correct response for white? Well, most of the time players would just connect here. And now black obviously is gonna live himself, right? He can just extend something like that, and then there's likely a ko in here, or some other choices he has. Probably just something like this, right? So this way black is able to get to break out. So white cannot really clean kill, so white just gonna be happy with this kind of moves. That's also possible. So black is gonna live in corner. There are many ways to do so, and all what white is gonna do is value the outside and build tremendous influence towards the left side. So that would be the correct invasion and defense for both sides for the attach at r3. All right, so I hope this video is going to help you guys. Looking at how we can invade this local formation. Obviously, our invasion techniques has to be considered with the context, right? So let's say white has moyos like this, Then we need to make a global evaluation. Do we need to invade at M3, or do we need to first test him out in the corner? Those are questions that we need to think and ask ourselves to make the best decision. But my invaders videos right now are only for local tactics, so you guys can add this to your repertoire and use it in your games accordingly. Obviously, according to what is on the board. In our case, with this formation, maybe we could consider this attach. But once again, Go is a very complicated game, and I don't have all the answers. It's beyond my level. And maybe white is going to defend like this and then build some territory here. So we need to count and we need to make the judgment by ourselves. But today I introduced to you how we can play some moves in the corner and then get profits outside. And that's the main idea of today's lecture. In the future lectures, I will hopefully insert more context for you guys to see how professional players invade and stuff like that. But before that, we need to get the basics done, and I think that's what I'm doing with this video. So don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and thank you very much for watching. Talk to you guys next time.